Now let's move on to this. The Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Police is in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape to assess progress in addressing extortion-related crimes. This follows the deployment of a specialized task force last year aimed at curbing these criminal activities. During their visit, the committee is scheduled to meet with members of the local business community and representatives from the private security sector. Newzroom Afrika's Ntsiki Nohiya is live for us in Mthatha. Ntsiki, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. What came out of the presentations by the police today?
Well, Kat, what came out of the presentation from the police today is the statistics of the cases that have been successfully, arrested, people that have been arrested, and the cases that are still being investigated, with OR Tambo coming on top of that list and Sarah Batman coming at the bottom of that list. But the Portfolio Committee on Police is not so happy to join us and tell us about what they made out of the presentation. I'm now joined by the Portfolio Committee on Police chairperson, Ian Cameron. Mr. Cameron, thank you so much for joining us on Newzroom Afrika. The members from your committee were not so happy with what came out of the presentation by the police here in the Eastern Cape. What is it that you are not happy about, and what do you think should be done to make sure that extortion is rooted out altogether?
Yeah, so I think some of the members did explain that they would have wanted to see more depth. It's important to also acknowledge it's very difficult to give depth on an open platform with investigations that include extortion, because not only can it be detrimental to cases, but it can also put victims at risk. So yes, it would be nice to see more depth, but it's a bit of a catch-22 because it could be detrimental too. In terms of rooting out extortion, is one or two things that stood out, and that's official involvement. That there's no doubt that to operate extortion on the level that it's operating in this area, in the OR Tambo region, but so too in other parts of the Eastern Cape, and then other two hotspots, Western Cape and KZN, you have to have some kind of whether it's protection or involvement or by officials, and whether it's in the police or, for example, the Department of Justice. It seems to me that there's a lack of an integrated approach to root it out. On the one side, we see acknowledgement and actually positive feedback from some of the business leaders here today that are saying that they can see that the police are taking some of the cases seriously and that the investigations are done, but once it reaches the prosecutor, it falls flat and they never hear anything again. So, it feels as though the police are trying to fill the court roll and the prosecutors are trying to empty the court roll. It's a bit counterproductive at the moment.
What do you think should be done to close that gap, to make sure that South African Police Service fight the extortion and many other organized crime successfully?
So it was explained today by the Provincial Commissioner, the Acting Provincial Commissioner, about prosecution-led investigation, and he can explain that in more depth. But in terms of intelligence-led policing, I think the necessary capacity must be there to really be proactive, to have the relevant informers in the relevant spaces to come and give feedback for police to operationalize or act on. It does seem to me that there's serious capacity shortcomings in terms of physical resources, whether it's something like a vehicle or otherwise. We'll be visiting some stations from this afternoon, so it'll be a good indication of what the reality on the ground is. Also made it clear today that our existence is not to use the police as a punching bag. We want to go out and see what we can do to improve the circumstances members work in. Obviously, we will zoom in on any form of corruption too, but if we can improve it for good members, we certainly can improve service delivery.
Thank you so much, Ian Cameron. Kate, talking on behalf of the Portfolio Committee on Police, I'm now joined by the Acting Police Commissioner here in the Eastern Cape, Major General Thulele Dladla. Major General, you've heard what Mr. Cameron had to say about your presentation. Of course, it is not satisfactory. It means you need to go back to the drawing board.
Thank you very much. Let's correct that. The chairperson did not say he's not happy. He said some of the members were not happy because they needed some more meat. like we say yes, we do have presentation which has meat, but because this was an open meeting, that is why we didn't put more meat on the presentation, because we had to protect our witnesses, protect our complainants. And the chairperson correctly also emphasized on that.
Some of the extortion victims, including business community here and individuals, were claiming that they've reported these matters to the police, but they were never taken care of. And another lady, Vyogazi, to be specific, she's been sent from pillar to post by the police, but her case of being intimidated because she didn't want to be part of extortion was never taken into consideration. Do you know about this case? If you do, what happened in that regard?
I'm not specifically aware of the docket. That will need one to get the docket specifically to read and go through and check what is happening, why there is no movement. So without a docket, I'm not in a position to know what is happening on the docket. But you heard other business people were happy confirming that they are working with the brigadier, who is a provincial head for Organized Crime Investigation Unit, who is in charge of the cases of extortion.
Maybe the last one, PC, acting PC, they were happy, but in the same breath, they were not happy with the manner in which the extortion has escalated and the fact that the cases that are in front of the courts, I know that you're not speaking on behalf of the NPA, but your investigating officer is definitely involved in the cases that are delaying currently in court, and the extortion that is still going on very much so. And also some of them were saying to us that some of these extortionists are only using people in the front line, but the big bosses are behind, and you know about them.
Well, extortion is not easy. Yes, the big bosses will be behind, and we are investigating on that. As I indicated, that our investigation is prosecution driven. So we definitely believe that we are going to do well and be successful in those investigations, because it's investigated by Organized Crime Investigation Unit.
Thank you so much, Kate. The acting provincial commissioner, Major General Thulele Dladla, saying that they will, pull all stops to make sure that they fight these criminal activities. And the portfolio committee chairperson earlier saying that, some of the challenges that the police are faced with is resources, and that they will now be visiting some of the police stations to get a first-hand experience of their challenges, so that they are not looking as punching bags at the police, but assisting them wherever they need the assistance of the portfolio committee.